A super warm welcome to all of us that are joining us in this growth space. I call it a growth space because we get to hold each other's hand. We get to cry together. I know that for sure some of us have seen real tears where we have cried together, where we have answered some questions, where we are promoting growth in business, in emotional healing, okay? We've talked about forgiveness. We've talked about, accepting yourself and embracing yourself and your flaws and being able to make it in a bigger way. So there's so many things that we keep talking about, but one thing for sure is we are all on a journey of growth. We are all on a journey of evolving, of expansion, okay? Of leveling up, of changing our attitudes and shifting our mindsets and conquering our fears and being able to do all those things while leaving no one behind. That is our slogan. No one gets to be left behind. We are moving together. So thank you so much, our online viewers and those that are watching us on Spirit TV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know that we have questions and we will dive into those questions as time goes. Make sure that you use our platforms. Bahati Hilda Sabiti on YouTube and then Bahati Hilda Sabiti on all other social media platforms. Give us your questions in our inboxes, DM us, and we'll make sure that we follow up on those questions. For those of you on TV, make sure that you invite another person to watch, to invite another person, and we do not segregate in age. The journey of growth is a journey that we share from whichever age. But I know that for sure there is a particular age that we have right here in the auditorium or right here at Hold My Hand that are hungry and are very persuaded that nothing is going to stand between them and their growth. And that is why we are here. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we want to talk about you've got to know what to cut out. You've got to know what to cut out. We've talked about the so many good things. We've talked about how do we get to success? How do we embrace change? How do we address the growth gaps we have made, the vision boards, and we want to be able to accelerate into the success and significance. But again, a time has to come when we must vividly know that now the signs are saying and the season is saying, I must know what I have to cut out. And it's not all about getting, and building. Sometimes it's about taking a few steps behind. Sometimes it's about making the most weird, the hardest conversations with ourselves. I don't know whether you've had a hard conversation with yourself. A hard conversation. Like you confront yourself with a hard conversation. You know how we say that selling is very hard? Speaking to ourselves and selling ourselves something is also very hard. It's not just about selling it to someone else. Selling it to yourself, knowing that, by the way, okay, let me just bring this analogy. And I don't know whether, because we are in Africa, these things happen. You've seen people that have had jiggers, and they have to take them out. You've seen people that have boils, and they have to press them. Okay, to make sure that the pus is out and to make sure that it's clean and, medicine is applied and, they're on their way to healing. Making that decision and saying, I am sick, I am taking myself to a hospital where I know I'm going to be injected. Administering something hard, even to yourself, is the hardest thing. Because we have mercy on ourselves. Because we love ourselves. Before we even go into the syndrome of self-love and self-care and that we are naturally selfish. We love ourselves already because we don't know that we do, but we love ourselves so much. And because we love ourselves, we tend to take the comfortable ways. We tend to take the simple ways. We tend to take the easy ways out. Why? Because we are self-protecting. We do not want to stretch ourselves. We do not want to expand ourselves. And we do not want to hurt ourselves. So when I say that you've got to know when to cut certain things out, it begins with the hard conversations, right? That is why we are all on different journeys and different statuses, and we've all reached different levels, right? And you can clearly look at someone and say, I'm ahead of them. I am ahead of them. And sometimes it feels like we are mocking, but it's natural that we compare, right? Even when we say that you should not compare, it's natural. You look at someone and you're like, no, I'm 10 steps ahead of them. But again, you look at someone and you're like, oh my goodness, I am 100 steps behind them. How did they do it? Have you ever looked at someone and even your jaw dropped? You're like, huh? How did they get there? How did they make that money? Now, for the people that are not cynical, they will ask that question wanting to know how they made the money, right? But for the people that are cynical, they will be insinuating other things of no one in this world makes that money unless they have done dubious things, unless they have gone to the lake. I don't know what is in the lake. So when someone drops that jaw and asks, how comes we live in the same Kampala, we went to the same school, we stayed on the same house, and this person is 1,000 miles ahead of me? Sometimes it's because they knew early in their lives never to hold on to certain things. When you get to know something, the earlier you know something, the earlier you address it. And then, not always that the earlier you know something, the earlier you address it. There are some of us that know things earlier and we never address it. For example, you were getting into that relationship and you sensed there were things that were off about that relationship. Maybe this lady did not give you time. Maybe they just didn't have time to respond to your text messages. Maybe they responded only when they wished. But because you were like, most ladies say no to mean yes. So you know what? I'm going to stick on. I know some guys give themselves a lot of hope and then they keep going. And blindly, they shoot their shots, but shoot their shots in the dark. So a time has to come when you've got to know that enough is enough. I have made my communication, I have made my intentions very clear that I love you and I want to marry you. But if we are not on the same level, I am not going to waste any more of my time. I am not going to cut my losses and I'm going to walk away. Gentlemen, a time has to come when you've got to cut your losses. It's not all the time that, you know what, you have to stick in there, fight for what you want. What if what you want doesn't want you? And there's so many times it happens like that. And for some gentlemen, it's so hard to imagine that a woman will have a say about what she wants. No, if what you want does not want you, then you unwant it. Move on and open another conversation. But you've got to know, it's so important to know the seasons and to know the times and to know when to do certain things and to know when to quit and when to hold on. That is wisdom, to know those things. I usually like giving Bible references because they're the closest to me that I have, but I know that so many of us have had some of these stories. When the children of Israel went to spy the land, came back with the news, Moses as a leader should have known better not to let every Tom, Dick, and Harry give a report. Right? Because some people were saying it's a land that is flowing with milk and while others came with a report that said, oh my God, the giants are twice our size. They are going to eat us alive. They have 6 fingers and they have 6 feet. Now, the same Bible that I read, I don't know the Bible that you read, says that the people's hearts were downcast. Now, as a leader, he had to know when to shut people out and tell them, you do not give a report. You do to sieve, to say, you know what, if you have a positive report, come here. If you have a negative report, stand there. The people with positive reports, give your reports. While people are jubilating, you know what, the land is flowing with milk and honey, they are, they have the zest and the zeal to go and fight for their land. They're like, it doesn't matter who owns that land. If God says it's our land, we are going to get that land. That is what positivity does. It says that, you know what, that business is hard, but it has been operated by people, and I am a people flowing with red blood. I am not different. I am not an animal. I am a human being. And so if a human being has operated this business and has been successful before, I am going to operate this business. And one of the things that we've got to know to cut out of our lives is fear. Do you know what fear does? It begins as fear, but the actual bad or worst thing about it is the discouragement that it comes with. Because it's the discouragement that will whisper and speak into your ears and remind you of how you failed before. And remind you of who has failed before. And remind you of how your family has not made any more proceeds in life. Has not made any progress in life. We do not need to be reminded about our problems. We need to be reminded about the bigness of our God and about the possibilities that we have seen other human beings achieve. Those are the reminders that we need. I have seen women drink themselves silly. And you ask yourself, they had baby number 1, they didn't know the father. Baby number 2, they didn't know the father. But it all came from, they do not have a no in their mouths. And then all of a sudden, they go with a person that they don't know. They wake up besides a man that they actually don't know. And that night, they got pregnant. And then they go and start over, give birth, leave that baby somewhere. And if you're a grandmother here and you have a person that is hovio like that, tell them, carry your own cross. Stay with your own children. Buy their diapers, buy their milk, house them, take them to hospital. They will never bring for you a fatherless child. You've got to know when to cut certain things out. And negativity is one of them. You do not need another negative person or another more negative statements in your life. You have enough. Because half the time you're also negative to yourself. So if you're negative to yourself, because sometimes we are in doubt, sometimes we don't know whether we will do it, and that is the human nature. We keep growing from one level to another, from self-doubt to self-clarity, and from a bit to confidence, and then we fall back. Have you ever developed so much confidence about certain things, and then all of a sudden someone came and made a statement that took you back to zero? And you're like, you know what? I don't think I knew what I was doing. All along I thought I knew business, but I didn't know business. All along I thought I knew marriage, but my God, I don't think I know marriage. I think I need to be schooled about marriage. So you don't need. And this is when you have to cut out multiple things. Sometimes the news is not helping. Not helping. It's only making your heart sink because every time you ask yourself questions without answers. So and so cut so and so. How is that helping you? A man slaughtered the grandmother. How is that helping you? Then you're thinking, what kind of hearts do we have in the world? And then you go to bed with such negativity, and you wake up the next day and you hope to be very creative, to have big dreams, to pursue your dreams, and to be level-headed and to be clear-minded. Where is that going to come from? So whether it's the news, some of us, you even watch horrors. Because you live with someone who loves watching horrors, half the time you're gripping your table and you even anticipate what is going to happen, and then you go maybe to the fridge, pick something. Why are you watching the thing? Why? Have a no to certain. You don't need an extra negative thing. So you go to sleep and then you start hallucinating. Someone is knocking on your window and a demon is coming to touch you. And then you go to office and take your negativity there. Because what? You're irritable. Every time they say something, even if it's small, someone is giving you very beautiful feedback and you're taking it as criticism, and even criticism is good. You're just ready to explode on anyone. Why? You've not had enough rest. You've taken in enough negativity. Enough negativity. There are certain people that will invite you and you know exactly what they're going to tell you. And to some of us, by the way, it's our parents. Who knew? They are the readers of the negative news. Now, you have to know what you can contain, and you have to know when enough is enough. You have to know when to walk away from certain situations. And you have to know when to shut out. The other beautiful example about shutting up negativity, when they went to surround the wall of Jericho, I told you I have Bible references, enough of them. You remember that he told them to surround the city 7 times, and the last time to surround it 7 times before the blowing of the trumpets. I really have a feeling he knew there will be people that will be grumbling and complaining. Why are we surrounding it? I have done 1 time already. I have gone once already. I don't think I need to go again. What does 7 mean? Why do we have to go 7 times? Can't 5 be enough? I think he knew what human beings are capable, and he was like, shut up. Just go around 7 times, minus a word, minus saying anything. Just shut up and do what I say 7 times. And the victory was got. Some of us have to learn to silence the things that are screaming in our ears. And just tell them that, you know what? I don't want to know about that. Like, seriously. We have so many voices that are screaming. So many. Did you hear the voices that were screaming during COVID? That every time there was someone who was dying, every time there was, we will miss you, every time there was a picture of someone whose head had been circled in a certain group, that this person is dead. And let me tell you, so many people died because of fear and not from COVID. We lost so many men because half the time they were thinking, where am I leaving my children? Where am I leaving my wife? How are they going to survive? What are they going to eat? So while they are on oxygen, they are thinking, where am I leaving my family? Who am I leaving my family with? And all the negativity of whoever goes into intensive care does not heal, whoever goes on oxygen does not heal. You heard about those things. You've got to know when to cut certain things out. Some of us have been fighting, and I will forever talk about toxicity and narcissism. Some of us have been fighting with toxic people and narcissistic people. So many of us have not made the vivid decisions of putting that chapter of our lives behind. Whether you're still with that person, or that person is just playing drama around your life and you're giving them access to yourself, at some point, you have to get to that maturity and self-love that demands that you weed out some people out of your life and just say, you know what, these people can no longer stay in my life. Because what we're talking about is being successful, being happy in your life. Success minus happiness, that is a lost game. Right? So you have all the money in the world, but you're not happy. Then what do you have it for? We are all working towards that. We're all working towards building good, sustainable businesses. And one of the things that we should be able to cut out is looking at other people. Let me just bring this in a very clear way. Comparison, okay? But comparing ourselves with people who are not making headway. Because there are people, for example, these days, I am no longer impressed by someone getting something. For example, oh, I got a new business. I will celebrate with you. I love it for you. But again, I do not celebrate as much as the keeping of the business or sustaining of the business. I think for me right now, I'm more impressed about longevity than you celebrating when you've not gotten a hold of something. It's one thing to become a leader, and it's another thing to actually lead. It's one thing to start a company, and it's another thing for that company to stand up and uphold the virtues that it has promised to stand up for, and then to leave the test of time. There are 2 different things. Oh, these days, I have a phobia for people that are getting into marriage. I love marriage so much. But I will jubilate you. I will clap my hands while you are walking down the aisle. But half the time, do you know what I am doing? I am praying for every bride. If you ever invite me for your wedding, I am actually standing and literally praying for you and covering you and hoping that you will have the tools and the skills that it takes to maintain and sustain that marriage.